Hello, it's Jen Cosmano here at Sulphur Creek Farm. Beautiful farm behind me is where I live. I'm in the workshop of Lavender Fig. That's the apiary that is on Sulphur Creek Farm. And my old farm dogs walking behind me. Everybody hears there's Isabella. She's 15 this year. And we're gonna talk a little bit about where I came from in fitness and where I'm going to. So just so that I don't bore you, this is for people who may not know me or want to know a little bit more about me and what I've done in my past and how I got to where I am now. And hopefully it's not too lengthy. I do love to talk. So we'll try to get through this without having anybody nod off. But if you do, you can always replay it. So I'll just go through really quick through some of the aspects of where I started with all my fitness, and I wrote down some notes, so if I look like I'm looking down, it's because I had to write some stuff down. So let's start with me in the 80s. So in the 80s, let's start from the beginning, just really quick. I'm from Bound Brook. My great-grandparents, both sides, landed there. Went to Bound Brook school system, Bound Brook Junior High, 7th and 8th grade. Strolling down, we had to wear our little uniforms, our white shirts with our red shorts for gym class. Loved that. Doing aerobics in gym class with the gym teachers. Love that. Favorite gym class of all time, so I wish they still did it. Strolling down the hallway, and all of a sudden I look to my right before I get to the gym, and I see brand new Universal equipment with shiny, sparkly covers to them. And I went, what's that? I gotta get on that. And I think I managed to get on it once before. I wasn't meant for the junior high school kids. Managed to get on it once, but it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life. Brand new, chromed out, sparkling, upholstered Universal equipment. So needless to say, every time I walked by that room, I had to peek in there and see what was going on. So I knew I had the bug for fitness from a young age. I loved running. I was very athletic. I played softball. I tried to horseback ride. Difficult in a small suburban town, but there was a little bit of riding in there. Swimming, absolutely spent most of my summer days swimming for 8-10 hours at a time. So I really enjoyed track, field, cross country. Loved it. Everything I could. Bound Brook was a little limited with female sports, but I did what I could do that they had, and I was very actively involved with other people in sports, going to basketball games, watching gymnastics, which we still had in the school system, and just really enjoyed athleticism. So it was fun to grow up in a town that I could walk and enjoy a lot of these things, ride my bike places. So it was really nice. We moved out to the country, and when I was a freshman in high school, I went to Voorhees High School. And Voorhees really didn't entertain me much with sports. Don't know why. I just didn't really click, I guess, with the coaches, whatever. As much as I love sports, sometimes that's just the way it goes. So I started working out on my own. I started doing my own fitness routines. I went to aerobic classes with Norma Reed, who still lives in California. I just saw her walking the other day. I took fitness classes from Fit as a Fiddle, Joanne Dahan, who I loved dearly. She was so fabulous to me and taught me so much, and eventually let me teach at her facility, which is where I got my launch for teaching aerobics, thanks to Joanne. Went through many years from the late 80s into the early 90s of just teaching classes for facilities, for gyms. I think at some point I was teaching at 5 different facilities. Gained a lot of respect in the aerobic industry because I really was devoted to it. I loved what I did and just thought that if I could just keep myself healthy and create something healthy for other people, that I was doing a good thing. I was young, 19, 20, 21. Went to get certified through Jack LaLanne. That's how I started my aerobics training. So that's probably about 1988. And then 1989, I got certified for personal training and excellence in exercise by Billy. I cannot remember his last name. He was fabulous. Met a few really great people doing that. Personal trained in-home for about a year. Had some fabulous clients. Launched my business off of my personal training company. So Judy Wade helped me start my original Body Firm by Jazzy aerobic studio in California in 1991, February of 1991, in the Victorian Square, where I had an aerobic studio. And within that first 2 years, I thought I would expand a little bit and create a gym. So I dove into some gym equipment, heavy weight training, dumbbell, free weight, and some Nautilus equipment that was huge and heavy, that I had many people help me move, all of which I would like to thank right now because it was big. And I'm glad I had some big heavy guys that were working out with my gym that wanted just a little extra workout that day. So I did that for a while. So 1991 to I moved to where I am in 2002. So it was a good stretch. It was about 11 years. During that 11 years, I got into bodybuilding with the weight training equipment. I went out to the Arnold Classic. I met Arnold Schwarzenegger. I met Franco Columbu. I met Corey Everson. I met so many professional bodybuilders, all of which became famous and were really Sharon Bruneau, one of my favorite bodybuilders who was completely natural, who ended up leaving bodybuilding because of some of the problems with the drugs in bodybuilding. Still to this day, Frank Zane and Sharon Bruneau are two of my favorite bodybuilders. And just really respected the art of what they were trying to do with their body and creating fitness and wellness through the way they looked. And although there could be discrepancy right now with what that means, if you look those two people up, you'll understand that that's not it. They were very natural. They were very beautiful, and they were a creation of what really working for what your body can give you is about on a physical level. So I did that for quite some time. I was still going to school. I was doing athletic training. I did exercise physiology. Then I decided I wanted to get into physical therapy. The University of Medicine and Dentistry was running a program through Kane College, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I entered into the pre-med program at Kane to get into the University of Medicine, and got through about 3 years, getting ready to go into my 4th year before I applied, and I got pregnant with Apollonia. So that changed everything. But you know, life throws you hardballs. You catch them and you throw them back in a different direction. And where they land is going to be where you're going to end up moving into the next. I was going to go into physical therapy, into a medical program. I could do anything I wanted to do. So I decided to look into something similar to that I would be able to stay home and spend time rather than do another 6 years of full-time medical work. So I went to the Somerset School of Massage Therapy, not knowing where it was going to lead me. Literally one day, something over the right side of my ear said, "Do neuromuscular therapy, massage therapy, see how you do." So I did, and I got into the school. I didn't get into the school, obviously. I was accepted into the school. It wasn't that difficult. But I got an instructor, Ron Diana, who was science-based, physiology-based, and the best instructor I could have possibly got for what my brain was on at the time. The tunnel that I was traveling down that wanted to move outward. He was it. He gave me everything I needed. It was perfect timing. The school was sold after I graduated. It became something completely different, and I just was meant to be there at that time. So I graduated, and then I continued to work through my business and decided I was ready for something bigger. And I went down to 66 Main Street and bought the old bank in Califon. 5,000 square foot facility, and it's still just me. But that's besides the fact. I love working on my own. Apollonia works with me periodically, but I am definitely somebody who enjoys being kind of one with my work. So I have created this wonderful facility into a very branched out wellness center, very private. So let's see. 2000, the Acropolis was born. 2002 is when I actually opened the doors. But the Acropolis was named the Acropolis because it was supposed to house all of the different elements of a wellness center, a true health and wellness center, as back in the early 1900s was called a sanitarium, someplace that held everything for helping somebody become well, or in my case, the prevention from being not well, which is really what I focus on. So then the new millennium comes around, and now I have even more to be able to offer to people. So the back of the building became transformed into many different things. First it was my gym, and then it became more into fitness modalities, and little by little the building completely metamorphosizes on a weekly sometimes basis, but it's supposed to really resemble something of the ancient Greek origin of creating health through all different natural modalities. And what I have done in the past, now almost 17, 18 years, is find those different modalities, study them, see where they fit into the puzzle, and then make it a complete holistic model. So in the last 18 years, I have studied from some really amazing people, starting with 2005, I started with holistic nutrition, naturopathy. And although I do not practice nutrition because I couldn't even tell you how I feel about it right now, I never loved talking about nutrition to people because I think it has to be the most double-edged sword that you could possibly bring up in a conversation. It's so individual, and it changes on such a crazy daily basis that I would rather sub out that one. So hopefully you'll see some of that coming up on the website too, with some really interesting nutritional people. So I'm going to leave that to people that have mastered their own trades. But naturopathy really encompasses a lot of different elements of holistic well-being, and one of them was iridology, the study of the iris of the eye. And I was fascinated by this, and I was fascinated because I was taught by Dr. David Pesek, who is very known internationally. He trains German heliopractors who still do iridology work in Germany, and he looked at the iris not just as a physical interpretation of the systems, but also as a mental and psychological interpretation of the systems. And very fascinating work. Joseph Ungerer and Joseph Deck of Germany wrote a book on iridology that I have. It's in German, so I do need a translator if anybody speaks German. It goes through 2,000 clinical cases that they were on the front lines of the war, at the Russian lines of they were called in with the Russian soldiers to treat German POWs. And as the Germans passed away, they did autopsies with iridology, and they wrote a clinical book on 2,000 cases. And a lot of people don't know this about iridology, but I do, and you'll start to see some of that surface again as I move forward and really find that part of where I want that to be in my regular wellness program. So that's something that I've studied for a really long time, starting in, I think it was about 2005 I started. I originally started with a different woman and then moved to David Pesek to get a larger degree on that. So I studied for, I think, a good 10 years, and I'm still studying. I mean, I'll never know it the way that my mentor knows it, because I don't do it as a primary, but as a secondary aspect to my business. Yeah, but that's one element of naturopathy, including water therapies, which I'll be adding in the future, and obviously fitness modalities, and there are many, many other aspects, herbalism, nutrition, going into the herbalism a little bit more, or the nutritional aspect of it. I do a biochemistry of hair analysis by studying off of Dr. Paul Eck. He was a genius in his work with hair and heavy mineral, heavy and toxic metal, poisoning of the systems or overloads of the systems, and understanding how they affect the person through the body's elimination through the hair. And he worked with I think over 200,000 hair analyses at the time that he passed, and he did journal a lot of his work. I have some audio tapes that I have gotten from his daughter, who runs his laboratory, and his son, and I will post those as well so that you can hear him speak. And he's really quite a phenomenal man as well. Not very well known, but his work was really quite extraordinary and a little lost. So I'm going to pull that up on the surface. I love hair analysis. It's not something that a lot of people come to me with, but I do enjoy it, and it works really well with remineralizing the systems. And if you do like to take supplementations, it's a great way for you to get on the correct supplementation program. And let's talk about herbology. So we're getting closer to understanding my path a little bit, and so the last part of, the last part of my journey, I said, was herbology, because I wanted to study with David Winston. He is such an incredible mentor. He's one of those people that is going to be written in history books at some point of either now or in the future. And a lot of people know him, a lot of people don't, but if you don't know him, look him up. He is phenomenal. He is instructing me right now. I'm in a 600-hour program with him, which is the same amount of time that I spent with neuromuscular therapy. So it's a pretty huge effort. And with that is going to come a therapeutic approach to whole plant supplementation, which I'll be moving towards and trying to help people with. My goal would be to create an entire herbal supplement, plus my next project with him is going to be launching an entire herbal spa program that is external and internal. So I'm writing that up this coming year. This year it's on the bees, which you see yellow jackets rolling around me, which are very misunderstood, by the way. But my honeybees are really quite interesting. I've learned a lot from the honeybees this year, so that's going to be something really fun to bring to you in the future. And the other thing that I'm going to kind of finish with is physioarchitecture. So, as you can see, physio-architecture, I have my shirt on today. A lot of people haven't heard that only recently. I got the word physio-architecture trademarked for myself so that I could have a an identity from massage therapist, from personal trainer, from whatever else you want to try to call it. I look at what's going on out there with the dilution of so much on every level with the internet, and how everything in the world is getting diluted, and you really don't know what's real and what's not real. Even organic has gotten diluted. But if you truly look at the word organic and understand the pure aspect of something, you really can't identify me with anything that's out there right now, because I've created such a unique little niche for myself, and it's because of my surroundings and my environment. I mean, look at where I can plant myself every day. So I tried to coin a term, because I couldn't just live with physio whatever or massage therapist. So I coined physio architect, because I believe that I do have an element of art and design in me, and I felt like, architecture is foundation, creation, building, structure, beauty. And inside of all of that, there has to be more. There has to be feeling. There has to be envelopment. There has to be light. There has to be visual expectations. There has to be energy, spirituality. There has to be everything in architecture for a building to truly be a work of art and a structural accomplishment. You have to encompass everything into it. So when you're sitting in it or in front of it, there has to be a feeling that goes with that. And I really felt that I gave that to my work. I took everything that I was about and I tried to give it back. My art, my design, my love for fitness, my love for understanding the body, physiology, anatomy, everything that I have studied through my life, all the little things that I've looked at, photography, sculpture, painting, you name it, the littlest thing, plants, loving animals, everything I wanted to put into my work. So I decided to create physio architecture, and that's where that came from, the architectural aspect of your own body. So that got trademarked, I think, 2 years ago, and with that I created a new program, and that's where the launch of physio-architecture Physiogenesis became, moving forward from this past year, 2018. So that is, in a nutshell, if you could say that, my biography. And even though there's more to it than that, there's a lot more in between all of that. That gives you a general idea of how I got to this place. If I was to have done this video 10 years ago, it would have sounded completely different. 20 years ago, it would have sounded completely different. The people that I worked with 20 years ago could still work with me today. They just would have metamorphosed. As a matter of fact, I have a few that still do. I have more than a few that still do. And I enjoy showing them what I am going to create next. And I enjoy that everybody is open-minded to accept it. So with that, I am going to sign off on my biography, and I am going to create the next part 2 of this is going to be my programming and understanding how I think about my programming, so that you can see my likes and my dislikes. So I'm going to finish up here, and I'll be back with the same background. See you soon.